The awakening. The big metal pod hissed and opened slowly. Cold mist poured out, covering the floor. Inside, a young woman named Zara opened her eyes for the first time in 3,000 years. She blinked, confused and scared. Where was she? What happened? Zara tried to move, but her body felt heavy. She looked around and saw other pods opening. More people were waking up, all looking as lost as she felt. An old man with a long white beard stumbled out of his pod. He coughed and said in a shaky voice, We made it. We're alive." Zara's mind was foggy, but memories started coming back. Earth, the attack, the escape. They had been put to sleep to survive a long journey through space. But where were they now? She pushed herself up and climbed out of the pod. Her legs felt weak, like a baby deer learning to walk. The room was huge, filled with hundreds of pods. Some were still closed, while others were opening. A loud voice boomed from speakers on the walls. "Welcome, survivors of Earth. You have been in cryosleep for 3,000 years. Please remain calm and wait for further instructions." Zara's heart raced. 3,000 years. It felt impossible. She looked at her hands, expecting to see an old woman's wrinkled skin, but she looked exactly the same as when she went to sleep. The cryopods had kept them young. People around her were crying, hugging, and talking in excited voices. Some looked happy, others looked scared. Zara felt lost in the middle of it all. A tall man in a uniform walked into the room. He had a kind face and spoke in a calm voice. "I know you're all confused and scared. My name is Captain Chen. I was born on this planet, but my great-great-grandparents were from Earth, just like you. You're safe now. We'll explain everything soon." Zara's mind was spinning. Born on this planet, great-great-grandparents. It seemed some humans had been awake all this time, building a new home. Captain Chen led them out of the pod room. Zara gasped when she stepped outside. The sky was a deep purple color. 2 suns shone brightly. Strange trees with blue leaves swayed in the wind. This was definitely not Earth. "Welcome to New Haven," Captain Chen said. "This has been our home for the past 3,000 years. We've been waiting for you to wake up." He took them to a big building. Inside, there were screens showing pictures of Earth. But it wasn't the Earth Zara remembered. The oceans were black. The land was burned. It looked dead. "I'm sorry," Captain Chen said softly. "Earth is gone. The Xenos destroyed it after we escaped. We are all that's left of humanity." The room filled with cries and shouts. Zara felt like her heart was breaking. Everything and everyone she knew was gone, dead for thousands of years. But then she saw something on one of the screens, a picture of the aliens who attacked Earth, the Xenos. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and many eyes. Zara felt a fire light up inside her. These monsters had destroyed her home. They had to pay. She stood up and spoke loudly. "We can't just sit here and cry. Earth is gone, but we're still here. We have to do something. We have to fight back." The room went quiet. Everyone looked at Zara. She felt embarrassed for a moment, but then Captain Chen smiled. "You're right," he said. "We've been preparing for this day for 3,000 years. Now that you're awake, we can finally take the fight to the Xenos." He pressed a button, and the wall opened up. Behind it was a huge room filled with strange machines and weapons. It looked like something from a science fiction movie. "This is how we'll get our revenge," Captain Chen said. "With the technology we've developed and your knowledge of Earth, we can defeat the Xenos. Who's with us?" The room erupted in cheers. Zara felt a mix of emotions. Sadness for what was lost, but hope for the future. She knew that this was just the beginning of a great adventure. As everyone talked excitedly about the upcoming war, Zara slipped away. She found a quiet corner and looked out a window at the alien world that was now her home. She made a promise to herself and to the memory of Earth. She would learn everything she could about this new world and the Xenos. And then She would make them pay for what they had done. The awakening was over. Now, the real work would begin. The big secret. Zara couldn't sleep. It had been a week since she woke up from her 3,000-year nap, but her mind was still racing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Earth burning. She saw the Xenos, those big bug-like aliens, destroying everything she loved. She got out of bed and walked to the window. Outside, the two suns of New Haven were rising, painting the purple sky with streaks of orange and red. It was beautiful, but it wasn't home. Zara made up her mind. She couldn't just sit around. She needed answers. She needed to know exactly what happened to Earth. And why. She snuck out of her room and headed to the big library Captain Chen had shown them. It was full of computers with 3,000 years of history. If there were answers, they'd be here. The library was empty this early in the morning. Zara sat at a computer and started searching. She looked for anything about Earth, the Xenos, and the Great Escape. Hours passed. Zara's eyes were tired, but she kept reading. Then she found something strange, a file that was locked. It needed a special password to open. "What are you hiding?" Zara whispered to the computer. She was good with tech back on Earth. Maybe she could crack this. She tried different codes, but nothing worked. Just when she was about to give up, she had an idea. She typed in Earth's Revenge, the name of their secret war plan. The computer beeped. The file opened. Zara's heart raced as she started to read. The file was full of old videos and reports. It showed Earth before the attack. But something was wrong. The Xenos weren't attacking out of nowhere. They were scared. Zara watched a video of the first meeting between humans and Xenos. The aliens looked nervous, not angry. They were trying to warn Earth about something. This can't be right, Zara said to herself. Everything they'd been told was a lie. She read more. The Xenos had come to Earth to ask for help. There was another alien race out there, something even scarier than the Xenos. These new aliens were destroying whole galaxies. The Xenos wanted to team up with humans to fight this bigger enemy. But Earth's leaders said no. They were scared of the Xenos and didn't trust them. The Xenos begged for help, but humans wouldn't listen. They started building weapons to fight the Xenos instead. The Xenos got angry and attacked, thinking Earth would join the big bad aliens. It was all a big misunderstanding. A stupid mistake that cost billions of lives. Zara felt sick. All this hate, all this planning for war, it was based on a lie. Suddenly, the lights in the library turned on. Zara jumped. Captain Chen was standing there, looking angry. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice was cold. Zara stood up, scared but brave. "You lied to us. The Xenos didn't attack us for no reason. We made them angry." Captain Chen's face got red. "You don't understand. We had to do it. We had to give people a reason to fight." "But it's wrong," Zara shouted. "We could have been allies. We could have fought the real enemy together." Captain Chen walked closer. "It's too late now. What's done is done. We have to stick to the plan." Zara shook her head. "No, people need to know the truth. We can still fix this." She tried to run, but Captain Chen grabbed her arm. "I'm sorry, Zara. I can't let you ruin everything we've worked for." Zara struggled, but Captain Chen was strong. He started pulling her towards the door. Then they heard a noise. Someone else was in the library. They both turned and saw a group of people standing there. It was some of the others who had woken up with Zara. "We heard everything," said an old man. It was the one with the long white beard from the first day. "Captain, let her go." Captain Chen looked nervous. He was outnumbered. Slowly, he let go of Zara's arm. Zara ran to the computer and sent the secret files to everyone's phones. "Look at these," she said. "This is the real story. We've been lied to." The room was quiet as people read. Then the old man spoke again. "We need to rethink everything. This changes all our plans. Captain Chen looked defeated. What do you want to do? He asked Zora. Zara took a deep breath. This was her chance to change things, to make things right. We need to contact the Xenos, she said. We need to apologize and ask for their help. There's a bigger enemy out there, and we need to face it together. The room buzzed with excited talk. People were scared, but also hopeful. This was a chance to fix a 3,000-year-old mistake. As they left the library to spread the news, Zara looked back at the computer. The big secret was out. Now, the real adventure would begin. They had a galaxy to save, and old enemies to turn into friends, getting ready for a big fight. The big meeting room was noisy. Everyone was talking at once. It had been 2 days since Zora found out the truth about the Xenos. Now, all the people from Earth and New Haven were trying to decide what to do next. Captain Chen stood up. He looked tired. Okay, everyone. We know the truth now. We're not fighting the Xenos anymore. But there's a bigger, scarier enemy out there. We need to get ready for that fight. Zara raised her hand. But how? We don't know anything about this new enemy. The old man with the white beard, who everyone now called Grandpa Joe, spoke up. We need to talk to the Xenos. They know more about this enemy. People started shouting again. Some were scared to talk to the Xenos. Others thought it was a good idea. Captain Chen banged on the table. Quiet. Grandpa Joe is right. We need the Xenos' help. Zara, you found the truth. You should be the one to talk to them. Zara's heart beat fast. She was excited but also scared. Okay, she said. I'll do it. Captain Chen nodded. Good. While Zara works on contacting the Xenos, the rest of us need to start getting ready for the big fight. He pressed a button, and a big screen came down from the ceiling. It showed pictures of cool-looking spaceships and weird guns. This is what we've been working on for 3,000 years, Captain Chen said. Now, we're going to teach you how to use them. The next few weeks were crazy busy. Everyone had a job to do. Zara spent her days in a special room full of computers. She was trying to send messages to the Xenos. It was hard work. She had to figure out how to say, "We're sorry," and "Please help us," in the Xenos language. Sometimes she got frustrated. Ugh! She yelled one day, hitting the computer. Why won't they answer? Grandpa Joe, who often came to help her, put his hand on her shoulder. Keep trying, Zora. They'll listen eventually. You're doing great. In another part of the base, people were learning how to fly the new spaceships. They used big machines that felt like real spaceships but didn't actually go anywhere. Tom, a young man who used to be a video game champion on Earth, was really good at it. Woohoo! He shouted as he did a flip in the pretend spaceship. This is just like my old games, but better. The teacher, an older lady from New Haven, smiled. Good job, Tom. But remember, in a real fight, you won't have extra lives. Tom nodded, suddenly serious. Right. I'll be careful. In a big field outside, other people were learning how to use the new weapons. They looked like normal guns, but they shot beams of light instead of bullets. Sarah, a former police officer from Earth, was teaching a group how to aim. Remembered, she said, these guns don't work like the ones we had on Earth. You need to aim a little bit ahead of where you want to hit. A young boy named Miguel was having trouble. His shots kept missing the target. Sarah walked over to help him. Here, she said kindly. Try holding it like this. She adjusted his arms. Miguel tried again and hit the target perfectly. I did it, he shouted, jumping up and down. Sarah grinned. Great job. Keep practicing. We need everyone to be ready. Back in the base, a group of scientists were working on something top secret. They called it Project Shield. Dr. Lee, the head scientist, was explaining it to Captain Chen. If this works, she said, pointing to a complicated drawing, we'll be able to protect whole planets from attack. Captain Chen looked impressed. How long until it's ready? Dr. Lee sighed. It's hard to say. We're missing some important parts. We might need the Xenos' help to finish it. Captain Chen nodded. Okay. Keep working. I'll check with Zara on her progress. As the sun set, turning the purple sky dark, Zara was still in her computer room. She was about to give up for the day when suddenly her screen lit up. A message appeared. It was full of weird symbols. Zara's heart raced. She quickly ran it through her translation program. Slowly, words in English appeared. We hear you. We will listen. Tell us more. Zara jumped out of her chair. Yes, she shouted. She ran out of the room, yelling, Captain Chen, Grandpa Joe, anyone. They answered. The Xenos answered. As people came running to see, Zara felt a mix of excitement and fear. They had made contact. Now, the real challenge would begin. Could they convince the Xenos to help them? And would they be ready in time to face the big, unknown enemy that was coming? The fight was coming. But now, they had hope. Together, humans and Xenos might just have a chance to save the galaxy. Meeting the bad guys. The big day had finally come. After weeks of talking with the Xenos through computer messages, it was time to meet face to face. Zara's heart was beating fast as she stood in the landing area with Captain Chen, Grandpa Joe, and the others. A strange sound filled the air. It was like a low hum mixed with a whistle. Then, a huge shadow fell over them. Everyone looked up and gasped. The Xenos ship was enormous. It looked like a giant, shiny beetle floating in the sky. Slowly, it landed in front of them. Remember, Captain Chen said quietly, we're here to make friends, not enemies. A door on the ship opened with a hiss. Out came the Xenos. They were even bigger in real life than in the old videos Zora had seen. The Xenos were tall, with hard, shiny shells covering their bodies. They had 4 arms and 2 legs. Their heads were big, with many small eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. The biggest Xeno stepped forward. It made a series of clicks and whistles. A small device on its chest translated into English. We are the Xenos. We come in peace. Are you the one called Zara? Zara took a deep breath and stepped forward. Yes, that's me. Welcome to New Haven. We're glad you came. The Xeno looked at her with its many eyes. You are young, but your messages were wise. We hope we can fix the mistakes of the past. Suddenly, there was a shout from the back of the human group. It's a trick. They're here to kill us. Before anyone could stop him, a man ran forward holding one of the new light guns. He pointed it at the Xenos. Everything happened very fast. The man fired the gun. A beam of bright light shot towards the Xenos, but just before it hit, something amazing happened. The lead Xeno moved faster than seemed possible. One of its 4 arms shot out and caught the light beam like it was a ball. Then, quick as a flash, it threw the beam high into the sky where it exploded like fireworks. Everyone stood still, shocked. The man dropped his gun, his mouth open wide. The Xeno turned back to Zora. We do not wish to fight. If we did, you would not stand a chance. We are here to talk, as you asked. Captain Chen stepped forward, his face red with anger and embarrassment. I'm so sorry. This isn't how we wanted this meeting to go. Please, let's start over. The Xeno made a sound that might have been a laugh. Yes, let's start over. But first, we have urgent news. The enemy we warned your people about 3,000 years ago. They're coming. They'll be here soon. A worried murmur spread through the crowd. Zara felt scared, but tried to stay calm. Tell us everything. We need to know what we're up against. The Xenos told their story. The enemy was called the Void Eaters. They weren't like normal aliens. They were more like living black holes, sucking up whole planets and stars. They don't think like us, the Xeno explained. They don't feel. They just consume everything in their path. and they're heading this way. Grandpa Joe spoke up. How do we stop something like that? The Xeno turned its many eyes to him. We have a plan, but we need your help. You humans think differently than us. You might see something we've missed. For the next few hours, humans and Xenos talked and planned. They shared ideas and information. Zara was amazed at how much the Xenos knew about science and space. As they talked, Zara noticed something. The Xenos weren't so scary once you got to know them. They were smart and even funny sometimes. She started to feel hopeful. Maybe together, they really could save the galaxy. But then, just as they were starting to feel good about their plans, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. A young woman from New Haven ran up, looking scared. Captain Chen, our long-range scanners have picked something up. Something big is coming our way, fast. The lead Xeno's many eyes all widened at once. It's them, the Void Eaters. They're here earlier than we thought. Captain Chen turned to Zara. Looks like we're going to have to speed up our plans. Are you ready for a real fight? Zara looked around. She saw humans and Xenos standing together, all looking worried but determined. She thought about Earth, destroyed 3,000 years ago. She thought about New Haven, her new home. She thought about all the other planets and people out there who didn't even know they were in danger. She stood up straight and nodded. I'm ready. We're all ready. Let's show these Void Eaters that they messed with the wrong galaxy. As everyone rushed to get ready for the coming battle, Zora couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and excitement. This was it. The moment everything had been leading up to. Humans and Xenos, once enemies, now allies, were about to face the biggest threat the galaxy had ever seen. The bad guys were coming. But this time, Earth's children were ready to fight back. Everything changes. The alarms were still ringing as Zara ran to the control room. Humans and Xenos were working side by side, trying to get ready for the coming attack. It was strange to see, but there was no time to think about it. Captain Chen was looking at a big screen. It showed a map of space around New Haven. A large dark spot was moving towards them. That's them, the lead Xeno said. Its name was Zigzags, Zora had learned. The Void Eaters. Zora looked closely at the screen. The dark spot didn't look like a spaceship. It looked like nothing. Just a big empty space where stars should be. How do we fight something like that? Tom asked. He looked scared. Zigzags made a clicking sound. We have weapons that can hurt them, but we need to get close. Captain Chen nodded. Okay, let's send out our best pilots. Tom, you're up. Tom's eyes went wide. Me? But I've only trained on the simulator. Zara put her hand on Tom's shoulder. You can do this. You're the best pilot we have. Tom took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, I'll do my best. As Tom ran to get ready, Dr. Lee burst into the room. Captain, Project Shield is ready. Everyone turned to look at her. Project Shield was their secret weapon. The one they hoped could protect whole planets. Excellent, Captain Chen said. But we haven't tested it yet. It's risky. Grandpa Joe spoke up. We don't have a choice. We have to try everything we can. Zara had an idea. What if we use Project Shield to protect our ships? That way, we can get close to the Void Eaters without being sucked in. The humans and Xenos looked at each other. It was a good idea. It could work, Dr. Lee said. But we'll need someone to control Project Shield from here. It's complicated. Before anyone could say anything, Zara stepped forward. I'll do it. I'm good with computers. Captain Chen looked worried. Are you sure, Zara? It's dangerous. Zara nodded. I'm sure. This is our chance to save not just New Haven, but the whole galaxy. As everyone got ready for the battle, Zara sat down at a big computer. Dr. Lee quickly showed her how to use Project Shield. Remember, Dr. Lee said, you're not just protecting our ships. You're giving them a chance to fight back. Zara took a deep breath. I understand. I won't let you down." Outside, the sky was getting dark, but it wasn't nighttime. The Void Eaters were getting closer, blocking out the stars. Tom's voice came over the radio. "This is Gold Leader. All ships ready for takeoff." Captain Chen gave the order. "Launch all ships. Good luck, everyone." Zara watched on the screen as the human and Xeno ships took off. They looked so small compared to the huge darkness of the Void Eaters. "Zara, activate Project Shield now," Captain Chen shouted. Zara's fingers flew over the keyboard. On the screen, she saw a blue bubble appear around each ship. Project Shield was working. The ships flew towards the Void Eaters. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, chaos broke out. The Void Eaters weren't just a big empty space. They had ships too, hidden in the darkness. They started attacking. Evasive maneuvers. Tom yelled over the radio. The human and Xeno ships scattered, dodging enemy fire. Zara worked hard to keep the shields up. Every time a Void Eater ship hit one of their ships, she had to make the shield stronger. "It's working," Zigzag said. "We're getting close enough to use our weapons." On the screen, Zara saw beams of light shooting from their ships into the darkness. Where they hit, the emptiness seemed to ripple and shrink. But the Void Eaters were strong. They kept coming, kept attacking. Zara was getting tired. Keeping up all the shields was hard work. "We need to do something big," Captain Chen said, "or we'll lose this fight." Suddenly, Zara had an idea. A crazy, dangerous idea. What if we turn Project Shield into a weapon? Everyone looked at her. "What do you mean?" Dr. Lee asked. "Instead of shielding our ships, what if we create one big shield and push it into the Void Eaters? Like a giant bubble popping." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Zigzag spoke. "It could work, but it would take all our power, and whoever controls it would be in great danger." Zara stood up. "I'll do it. It's our best chance." Captain Chen looked at her proudly. "Are you sure, Zara?" Zara nodded. "I'm sure. Tell all our ships to pull back. I'm going to end this." As the ships retreated, Zara focused all her energy on creating one massive shield. On the screen, a huge blue bubble appeared, bigger than anything they'd seen before. "Here goes nothing," Zara whispered. She pushed a button, sending the shield flying towards the Void Eaters. There was a blinding flash of light. The computer in front of Zara exploded in sparks. She was thrown backwards. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, cheers erupted. Zara opened her eyes to see everyone celebrating. The screen showed empty space where the Void Eaters had been. They were gone. As Grandpa Joe helped Zara up, Captain Chen smiled at her. "You did it, Zara. You saved us all." Zara looked around at the happy faces of humans and Xenos. She thought about how much had changed. Old enemies were now friends. The galaxy was safe. Everything had changed, and it was just the beginning of a new adventure. The last big battle. The celebration didn't last long. Just as everyone was hugging and cheering, a loud alarm started blaring again. "What now?" Zara asked, her heart sinking. Captain Chen ran to the big screen. His face went pale. "It's not over," he said quietly. "Look." Everyone turned to the screen. The dark spot that was the Void Eaters was gone, but now there were hundreds of smaller dark spots moving towards New Haven. Zigzags made a worried clicking sound. "The Void Eaters have split into smaller parts. They're trying to surround us." Grandpa Joe shook his head. "We don't have enough ships to fight all of them." The room went quiet. After all they had done, was this how it would end? Suddenly, Tom's voice came over the radio. "Hey, don't give up yet. I have an idea." Everyone listened as Tom explained his plan. It was crazy and dangerous, but it just might work. "We need to lure all the Void Eater parts to one place," Tom said. "Then we can use Project Shield like a big net to catch them all at once." Dr. Lee looked worried. But Project Shield is broken. The last blast fried the main computer. Zara stood up. I can fix it. Just give me an hour. Captain Chen nodded. You have 30 minutes. That's all the time we can buy you. As Zara and Dr. Lee raced to fix Project Shield, the others got ready for the biggest battle of their lives. Captain Chen turned to Zigzags. We need every ship we have. Can your people help? Zigzags' many eyes blinked. We will fight with you until the end. Outside, the sky was filling with ships. Human ships, Xeno ships, all flying together. On the ground, people were setting up big guns to shoot at the Void Eaters from New Haven's surface. Tom's voice came over the radio again. All ships, follow me. We're going to play a little game of catch me if you can with these Void Eater pieces. The plan was simple but dangerous. The ships would fly close to the Void Eater pieces, getting their attention, then lead them all to one spot where Project Shield would be waiting. As the ships took off, Zara and Dr. Lee were working as fast as they could to fix Project Shield. Hand me that wrench, Zara said, her head inside a big machine. I think I've almost got it. Dr. Lee passed her the tool. Hurry, Zara. We don't have much time. In space, the battle had begun. The sky was full of lights as ships fired at the dark Void Eater pieces. Tom was leading the charge, his ship diving and spinning to avoid getting hit. Woohoo! Tom yelled as he flew between two Void Eater pieces, making them crash into each other. This is just like the video games back on Earth. But it wasn't all fun and games. Some ships were getting hit, disappearing into the darkness of the Void Eaters. On the ground, the big guns were firing nonstop. Grandpa Joe was helping to aim them. Keep firing, he shouted. We need to protect our ships. Back in the control room, Zara finally emerged from the machine, her face covered in oil and sweat. It's done, she shouted. Project Shield is ready. Captain Chen didn't waste a second. Tom, bring them in. Everyone, get ready. Tom's voice crackled over the radio. Roger that. Here we come, and we're bringing company. On the big screen, they could see all the ships flying towards one spot, with the dark cloud of Void Eater pieces right behind them. Now, Zara, Captain Chen shouted. Zara pushed the button. A huge blue bubble appeared in space, right in the path of the oncoming ships and Void Eaters. All ships, dive. Tom yelled. Everyone watched, holding their breath, as the ships died down at the last second. The Void Eaters, unable to turn so quickly, flew right into the shield. There was a blinding flash of light. For a moment, everyone was sure the shield would break, but it held. When the light faded, they could see the shield floating in space. Inside it, trapped like fish in a net, were all the Void Eater pieces. The room erupted in cheers. Humans and Xenos were hugging each other, crying and laughing. Zigzags turned all its eyes to Zara. You did it. You saved us all. But Zara shook her head. We all did it, together. As the ships returned and people came out to celebrate, Zara looked up at the sky. The stars were shining brightly again. The darkness was gone. Captain Chen put his hand on Zara's shoulder. What should we do with the Void Eaters now? Zara thought for a moment. Maybe we can find a way to communicate with them, to understand them. They might not be evil, just different. Grandpa Joe smiled. That's a good idea. After all, we learned to understand the Xenos. Maybe we can do the same with the Void Eaters. As the sun began to rise on New Haven, turning the purple sky to pink, Zara felt hopeful. The last big battle was over, but a new adventure was just beginning. Humans, Xenos, and maybe even Void Eaters, who knew what they could accomplish together. The galaxy was safe for now, and its future looked brighter than ever. Friends? A month had passed since the big battle. New Haven was busy with activity. Humans and Xenos were working together, rebuilding damaged buildings and ships. But the biggest project was happening in a large new building at the edge of the city. Zara walked into the building. feeling excited and nervous. Inside, she saw Captain Chen, Zixax, and Dr. Lee standing around a big glowing blue bubble. Inside the bubble was a small dark shape, a piece of the Void Eaters. "How's it going?" Zora asked. Dr. Lee looked up from her computer. "We're making progress. We found a way to communicate with it, but it's strange." Zixax clicked its mandibles. "The Void Eater doesn't think like us. It doesn't use words or pictures. It uses feelings." Zara stepped closer to the bubble. "Can I try talking to it?" Captain Chen nodded. "Go ahead. Just be careful." Zara took a deep breath and placed her hand on the bubble. Suddenly, she felt a rush of emotions. Confusion, fear, loneliness. The Void Eater was scared. "It's okay," Zora said softly. "We're not going to hurt you. We want to be friends." The dark shape in the bubble swirled and changed color. Zara felt a new emotion, curiosity. Over the next few weeks, Zara spent a lot of time with the Void Eater. She learned that they weren't evil, just very different. They traveled through space, looking for energy to feed on. They didn't know they were hurting anyone. One day, while Zara was talking to the Void Eater, something amazing happened. The dark shape in the bubble started to glow. Slowly, it changed into a form that looked a bit like a human, but made of swirling stars. "Hello, Zora," it said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "I am Novu. Thank you for teaching us." Zara was so surprised she almost fell over. You can talk now." Novu nodded. "We have learned much from you. We understand now that we hurt others. We want to change." Excited, Zora called everyone to see. Captain Chen, Grandpa Joe, Tom, and Zixax all came running. "This is amazing," Dr. Lee said, scanning Novu with her instruments. "They've evolved." Novu turned to look at everyone. "We want to make things right. Can you help us?" Captain Chen stepped forward. "Of course, but first, we need to free your friends. Can you help us communicate with them?" Novu agreed. Over the next few days, they worked on a plan. They would use Project Shield to create a big space where the Void Eaters could change, like Novu did. On the day of the big event, everyone gathered to watch. Zara stood next to the controls for Project Shield, ready to activate it. "Here goes nothing," she said, and pushed the button. A huge blue bubble appeared in space. Inside it, they released all the captured Void Eaters. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the darkness began to change. Lights appeared, swirling and dancing. Soon, the bubble was full of beings that looked like Novu. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Humans and Sinos hugged each other, crying happy tears. They had done it. They had made peace with the Void Eaters. As the new beings floated down to New Haven, Novu approached Zora. "Thank you, Zora," Novu said. "You have given us a new life. How can we repay you?" Zara thought for a moment. Then she had an idea. "Earth," she said. "Our old home. It was destroyed. Could you help us bring it back?" Novu's starry form sparkled. "We can try. With our power and your knowledge, perhaps we can rebuild your world." The next few months were busy and exciting. Humans, Xenos, and the transformed Void Eaters, who now called themselves the Starborn, worked together to plan the rebuilding of Earth. They used old maps and memories to recreate the continents. The Starborn used their energy to form oceans and grow plants. Zara and Dr. Lee worked on machines to clean the air and water. Finally, after a year of hard work, it was time. A group of ships, carrying humans, Xenos, and Starborn, approached the newly rebuilt Earth. As they landed, Zara was the first to step out. She felt grass under her feet and a warm breeze on her face. In the distance, she could see mountains and forests. It wasn't exactly like the old Earth, but it was beautiful. "Welcome home," Captain Chen said, standing beside her. Zara looked around at her friends, Human, Xeno, and Starborn. They had come so far. From enemies to friends, from destruction to creation. You know, she said, I think this is the beginning of something amazing. We've learned so much from each other. Imagine what we could do next. Grandpa Joe laughed. Slow down, Zara. Let's enjoy this moment first. We've earned it.